everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Deals for Dentists podcast. Through these podcast episodes, I'll be interviewing dental professionals and companies and aim to inspire, entertain, and educate you on the best tools and technologies out there. My goal is to help make your practice and career more profitable, efficient, and most importantly, more enjoyable. Today, we're having Naren Arulrajah back on the show again. And Naren is a serial entrepreneur and founder of Reducing Insurance Dependence Academy, www.rid.academy. Is it www.rid.academy?
Yes, you are correct. It's www.rid.academy.
Okay. Naren, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Eric. I look forward to our conversation today. And I know we are talking about growing your profits by reducing insurance dependence.
Yeah, so let's jump right in. And I'd love to ask you some questions about the overall PPO participation in the U.S. right now. How many dental offices do you think accept a PPO plan in the U.S. right now?
Every study that we have looked at and all the experts we have spoken to say that at least 90% of the practices in the US today are signed up with one or more PPO plans. And many of these plans rope you into multiple plans. So if you sign up with one plan, technically you are in with 7 plans because they are called umbrella plans. So one of the things we notice is once you are in that PPO world, you get roped in. So they are 60%, 70%, 80% dependent on these, PPO plans.
Do a lot of these dental offices not understand that and not understand the umbrella plan and don't realize they're in with multiple plans?
I think you are right, and also I think it's just it's the easiest path, right? Every dentist's fear is they won't have enough patients. So the PPO plans say, "Oh, I'll send you patients." What they don't tell you is that for every patient they send you, they're going to keep 40%, 45%. Now we are even seeing 50%, 55% of the usual and customary fees. So let's say you're supposed to make $1,000 on a particular procedure. Depending on what the write-off is, you might only see $400. So you have to do $1,000 worth of dentistry for $400 or $500 because of this massive write-offs, which is the difference between your usual fee versus what the insurance or the PPO plan will pay you.
So it's essentially just a major volume discount for getting patients in the door. You're getting these patients in the door, but at a major discounted rate. Now, what would you say, what % of the population does not have dental insurance and why?
Yes, the trend is fewer and fewer people have dental insurance. I think it's like everything else. I mean, I remember the days when my father's generation, they talked about this idea of a job for life. My dad worked for the same company for 30 years. And when he retired, they gave him a nice pen, and they said, "Thank you very much," right? Now, those types of mindsets of let me work for a company for 30 years is kind of dying. Insurance and insurance offered by the employer, especially dental insurance, is one of those mindsets. And you ask me why this is happening. I think, look at Uber drivers, look at, Airbnb hosts, look at, all the people who sell on eBay, look at all the people who sell on Amazon. Like there's a huge group of people today who are not kind of working for the man, working for the employer, so to speak. Rather, they have their own business or they are, their own thing going on, or they do multiple things with all these different platforms, depending on their lifestyle, depending on what their interests are. So many of these people do not have insurance. Like Uber doesn't provide insurance, health insurance or dental insurance. Neither does eBay or Shopify, where you have a Shopify store. So there is millions and millions of people, young and old, who are not even eligible for it. And then the other problem is the small businesses are also finding that it's expensive. I mean, if you're a small business, providing these benefits that are not really appreciated by your employees because the benefits kind of suck, and spending a lot of money, in many cases, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is a big hardship for a small business, is not affordable. So the trend is less and less people have these dental insurance programs, and that number is only going up. And my understanding is more than 50% of the people today do not have dental insurance across the US.
Yeah, you think of all the small businesses out there as well, like the the local restaurants, the bakery, the pizza place, that they just can't afford dental insurance for their employees. So all these people out there without dental insurance. Now, can you explain you had the first annual RITA Summit? Was that an all virtual summit?
Absolutely. It was an all virtual summit. It happened on the 12th of November, started at 9 a.m. Pacific time and ended at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 hours of CE. And we had experts from all over the US, people who have helped, dentists reduce insurance dependence, dentists who have actually been on that journey, companies that can really make a difference as you build a business that doesn't need to depend on insurance anymore to succeed and thrive. For example, Dental Intel CEO, the CEO of Boom Cloud, the CEO of Open Dental. So many interesting leaders in the industry, some of the top people at Care Credit and so forth. So we had some amazing people there, and we had a blast. And we had a large number of people sign up and large number of people attend. It exceeded our expectations threefold. So we are really excited. And I think there are a lot of reasons why there's such a strong interest in reducing insurance dependence. I think after COVID, many practice owners took stock of their lives and how hard they work, and do they enjoy the dentistry? They do, and the amount of money they keep, meaning their net after they pay all the bills. And I think the math people realize doesn't add up anymore. Like, many dentists who are on PPO plans are not even taking home 30% of what they would make. So like so many are taking 20% home. So they're like, I'm better off working for somebody else than, only taking 20% of, of what I make home. So people are like, enough is enough. So that's one thing. The second thing is costs have gone up a lot, especially after COVID. Everything is expensive. Team members need to be paid more if you want to keep them. Supplies are more expensive. So that's happening. But the insurance company, especially the PPO plans, restrict you from raising fees because, they dictate how much you can charge. So your hands are tied, but you're supposed to somehow compete in the real world and, pay more expenses, pay the people more and so forth with all the inflation that's happening. So all these things, I think, have created a perfect storm where many practices are now saying enough is enough. I'm going to drop one plan, then the next and the next and the next. So this idea of reducing insurance dependence, I think, has really taken off. And I think it's just the beginning.
Yeah, you mentioned during COVID, I think a lot of dental offices had time to reflect and kind of reevaluate their relationship with their participation in insurance companies. Also, like you said, costs have gone up. In insurance reimbursement for sure is not going up. It's going the other way. And then a lot of dental offices had capacity issues where we had to increase our time with each patient due to all of the disinfection of the office. We had to increase our time with each patient. The getting in, getting out of the office was, taking longer. So we had less patients, less time to see patients. So that's the time when you should start thinking about, dropping the dependence on some of these in-network participation plans. Can you talk a little bit about the math a little bit more, and also the fact that you can't set your own fees when you're in participation with a lot of these insurance companies?
Absolutely. Let's start with the math. So we have this calculator, and we'll put a link in the show notes. You can also use. You have to answer 3 simple questions, and based on that, we can tell you how much you are writing off in terms of the PPO plans every year. So this particular, I'm going to give you an example. This particular practice was collecting $1 million. And they were, I believe, 80% dependent on PPO plans, and their average write-off was 42%. So using those three assumptions, they're collecting $1 million, 80% dependent on PPO plans, and average write-off is 42%. I'm going by memory, but I think I'm pretty accurate. They had to produce almost $1.56 million to collect $1 million. So in other words, they have to do $1.56 million worth of dentistry. So every single year, they are writing off $560,000. So it's a marketing fee, right? So the PPO plan is giving you the patients, but for perpetuity, you have to give them $560,000 in this particular example, year after year after year. So in 5 years, that's $5.6 million. In 10 years, that's $11.2 million. I mean, that's a lot of money. Now, your expenses are not based on you collecting $1 million. They are based on you having to produce $1.56 million. So your expenses, meaning your rent, your wages, your lab expenses, pretty much everything is based on you having to produce $1.56 million. So what happens is when you have to do $1.56 million worth of dentistry, you need to either work really fast. Even then, you still have the lab expenses. You still have the employee expenses because, people, are going to do what they're going to do. Like I've heard of stories where in New York, the hygiene appointment that this particular doctor that I know can afford is 30 minutes because she just can't pay the people, based on the reimbursements, the hygienist for an hour and do quality dentistry. So I think the math kind of forces the dentist to do dentistry they hate, meaning, not doing the best work, not taking care of people the way they want to be taken care of if they were on the other side. So I think COVID kind of made people reevaluate. And I think what was the nail on the coffin is, like you said, the expenses went up. Like the amount of time they're spending per patient is now up, which means now their costs are going up there. So instead of seeing, let's say 3 patients, they can only see 2 in a certain time frame. Now the costs are for, more hours because to see the same amount of patients. The second thing is the PPE costs, all the extra equipment, the technology they had to purchase to keep themselves, their team members and the patients safe. Even wages are going up, 4 million people are quitting jobs, every month in the US because somebody else is willing to pay them more. So you can't keep your people if you're going to pay them what you used to pay them pre-COVID. You have to pay them more. So all these things are happening, but if you're on a PPO plan, you cannot raise fees because the PPO contract says your fees are fixed. So I think those 2 reasons, the math itself was not working. And then again, the double whammy is you don't have control over your business. I mean, to have control over your business, you need to have control over your fees. How much do you charge? Like I go to restaurants in my local area and, they're charging 10%, 20%, 30% more than what they used to charge pre-COVID. And the reason is everything is expensive. Labor is more expensive. The food is more expensive. Everything is more expensive. What do? They pass it on to the consumers, and we understand it. We pay more because we don't want the restaurant to go out of business. We want them to be here because we love their food. So nobody has a problem with it. It's just that they have the ability to do that. Every small business has the ability to raise fees, unless of course you are a PPO dependent dental practice. Then you don't. So I think these are the reasons why there's this groundswell movement in terms of, reducing insurance dependence.
Yeah. And you mentioned like a restaurant, their fees have gone up. So they pass that on to the customer, but a lot of them also, they have less capacity, less tables, just like a dental office. And you mentioned PPE. My office looks like a meth lab. It's all tarped up because of, the COVID making patients feel comfortable. So there's a lot of cost there. And now talk to me about, the fear of, let's say, going from in-network to out-of-network. Do a lot of dentists fear that they're going to lose a lot of their patients or all of their patients by dropping these insurance companies?
Absolutely. FEAR is an acronym, and I give credit to Gary, who's the other co-founder of the Reducing Insurance Dependence Academy. He defined it as false evidence appearing real. That's the definition of fear, false evidence appearing real. So I think every doctor is afraid of losing all those patients, if they go out of network. And, Gary has helped hundreds of practices. And, I personally know many practices, who are Equa clients who have been on this journey. And what we notice is only 10 to 15% of patients, if you do it right, there are certain steps you have to take to go out of network properly. If you do it right, you can keep 85 to 90% of your patients, your former in-network patients, even after you go out of network with those PPO plans. So that fear is there. So I think one of the things that's happening with the RIDA community and all the members, now they support each other. They see others are doing it in their own town or a similar town, in their own city, in their own state. Literally, we had people from every state, every type of city in the US at the summit. So I think that fear is going away. When they see more and more and more people doing this and more people talk about it, the less afraid they are. Now, the secret that nobody understands is the math is so much in your favor. Like, for example, if a practice, the example that I gave you, the one that has to do $1.56 million to collect $1 million. I mean, even if they lose, 60% of their patients, still they'll be more profitable. Literally. But we know from experience, if you do it right, you'll only lose 10 to 15% of your patients. So the worst case with the PPO plan is so bad that we're losing 60% of your patients, you're still better off. So I think almost like I have never ever seen anybody fail. Like the number one feedback we got from the community, we had several people who have successfully gone on this journey. And the number one feedback from them is, I wish I had done this sooner. I never realized the math is so much in my favor that just even if I fumble and even if I don't get that 10 to 15% retention and I even end up losing 20%, I'm so much better off. I make more profits, which means, I can now invest it back in the profit business or pay my people better and retain them or buy technology. You can do all kinds of stuff when you have an extra $500,000, every single year.
Now, you mentioned the word community. Is the RID Academy, is this a community, a coaching program? Can you explain the academy?
So it's the first virtual academy in dentistry that we know of. And as a member, you get to attend various events. There is a member area where a lot of resources are available to you. Videos, graphics, PDFs, all kinds of resources, everything that's important to reduce insurance dependence. See, being on a PPO is like a lazy man's way of running a business. You give up control, meaning you can't even set your own fees in exchange for these heavily discounted patients who will only do dentistry that's covered by the PPO plan. So you end up doing tooth dentistry, $500 dentistry, $1,000 dentistry, because that's all the insurance is going to cover. And even that is heavily discounted. So you end up becoming this practice that people are not excited to wake up in the morning and go to work for. Now, the opposite of that is you need to now give people a reason to come to you, other than the fact that you are on their PPO plan. So what does that mean? You need to have time to take care of them the way you want to be taken care of. We call it relationship-driven dentistry. So to do that, you need more time. You need to invest in training your people on the the behavioral side of dentistry, how to talk to people, how to build relationships. So all these things require new skills, new capabilities. So one of the other things we have done is to bring together a group of people who are experts in this. There are people who live and breathe, this idea of how to create relationships with patients, what verbal skills to have, how to train your team, how to see if the phone is being answered. Well, there's all these types of services. For example, the company Dental Intel, they have an amazing dashboard that provides all kinds of intelligence that will tell you, which are your best patients, who do you call when, what's your agenda for your morning huddle, all kinds of, information to help you be more successful as a practice owner. BoomCloud is another company that was featured there. They have a membership plan. And so many people who are on different membership plans, many practice owners, they have 1,000 people, 500 people on these membership plans. So let's say each patient is paying $300. If you have 1,000 people, you're making $300,000, without doing any work, just from the membership plan, and it's all coming to you. And of course, all those people on a membership plan, they get, let's say, 2 cleanings. They're all going to show up every 6 months because they know that they have already paid for this out of their own pocket. So they're much more likely to show up. And of course, the other thing that these membership plans offer is, or the doctors who have these membership plans offer is, a type of a discount. So they'll say, okay, any procedure that's outside of the membership plan, which is the hygiene and the basic x-rays, we'll give you a 10% off. So if they're doing a $40,000 case, they get a $4,000 savings. So the patient is happy because that doesn't happen with the insurance company. And also the doctor is happy because now he has a $36,000 check just from a single patient for this large case. So everyone wins. So you need to think differently. You need a different mindset, a different way of working. So we're also assembling that group of people, these companies, these experts, and even social proof, like, hearing from other doctors who have been on this journey, listening to their experiences is very powerful. So that's kind of what we are doing with this academy, and I think people love it. That's why, we have had unbelievable amount of new members, and every single day we have new members signing up.
Now, are you planning on having more summits? And if so, how do people sign up?
Yeah, so we have made the membership free for RIDAB, at least for the time being. So if you are signing up, the membership fee is a gift from us to you. Just go to www.rid.academy. Absolutely, we will do at least one summit a year. We might even do mini summits throughout the year. And also we'll do special webinars on specific topics. So there'll be tons and tons of, CEs, tons and tons of education and resources available to the members. So definitely sign up. The membership is on us, and www.rid.academy. You can go there and learn a lot about what this is all about.
Awesome. I had another question for you. You mentioned that most offices are successful, and even the ones that aren't as successful as they thought they were going to be, they still end up on top. What are some of the reasons for failing at this? Is it the fact that you're not creating this relationship with the patients, you're not training the staff? Like, what are the reasons that some offices just aren't successful?
Yeah, so we'll put a link to an episode that Gary did on the 6 steps to successfully reducing insurance dependence. And the 2 steps that he keeps highlighting out of the 6 steps are, the first one is a relationship-driven practice. You have to give people a reason to come to you other than the fact that you are on their PPO, which means they like you, they trust you. Healthcare is a very personal service. It's not like, buying bread at a convenience store. You don't really care. You don't need to have a relationship with that owner of the store to feel comfortable about buying a brand that you have purchased for the last 5 years. You just need to go there. They need to have the product. You pick it up and you leave. But healthcare is not like that, especially dentistry. You are in their mouths, so it's a very personal service. So the trust they have in you is so critical. So practices where the patient feels like they know you, they like you, they trust you, they feel like, you are part of their extended family taking care of them. They are going to come to you and stay with you forever. They will never, ever leave. I've even heard stories where people would even fly to see their dentist, 300, 400 miles, just because it's such a personal relationship. So I think that's one of the top 3 things you need to work on. And how do you work on it? You treat people the way you want to be treated. Look at your Google reviews. Do you have a lot of love letter reviews, paragraph reviews, where people are like so appreciative that you even exist and you are there doing what you do? If that's the case, then you are on the right track. Keep working on it. You can never stop being more relationship focused. Get to know the personal details about what's happening in their lives. Whatever that's important to them, whether it's their kids or their pets or their recent vacation trips. So there are techniques and methods on how do you remember these things using your software system, and how do you leverage it so you provide that personal touch to people. The second reason I think people fail, like according to Gary, is not having a strong marketing plan. Because even though they're taking a 50% or 40% discount, one thing that the PPO plans are good at is sending you new patients. So if you don't have a strong marketing plan that is able to send you new patients, month after month after month, then of course you won't succeed, because what will happen is you will lose patients, because even if you're only losing 10 to 15%, but you're not able to replace them with people who are choosing you for a reason other than you're on a particular PPO plan, then your practice will shrink and shrink and shrink, and you will fail. So one of the steps Gary always recommends is have a done for you digital marketing program, especially focused on Google. So every month you get a certain number of patients, and that number continues to grow. And today everything can be tracked: how many calls are coming in, how many people are filling an appointment form. As a special offer, we'll put a link to a marketing strategy meeting with Lila Stone. I'm also the co-founder of Equa Marketing, so it's a gift from us to you. You would save the $900 fee on doing 6 hours of research and sharing the findings. So what Lila would do is she would research your practice in comparison to all your competition, and share with you, how well you're doing. And also she'll tell you what the gaps are and what you need to improve. She will also share with you a 12-month plan as to here are the things you need to do for you to succeed with marketing. Anyways, at the very least, you will know where you stand. You will know what you need to work on. And if we can be of service, we would love to. But at the very least, find out, build your marketing. You need a way to attract new patients, who are not coming to you only because you are on their PPO plan.
Yeah, and it really, from this conversation, it really sounds you can't just wing this. You got to have a really a good concrete plan to do this. Naren, I wanted to wrap up with one final question about some advice for the young dentists out there. Dentists are coming out with $400,000 in debt. They want to associate for a year or two or open up their office. What would you recommend to them as far as getting involved with insurance companies?
Yeah, you're saying young dentists who are just starting out, or you're saying young dentists? Can you repeat the question again, Eric?
Yeah, so let's say a young dentist that just graduated, maybe they're out a year or two, they're $400,000 in debt, they want to open up an office. What would your advice be to them on how to navigate getting involved with insurance companies?
Yeah, I mean, I would say doing a startup is really hard, and you need deep pockets to do it. So if you're going to do a startup, go with your eyes wide open, meaning you won't make any profits for a while till you build that new patient base up. So you need to be well capitalized. So you need to plan on losing whatever the amount of money you're going to lose every month for 1-2 years. So you need to make sure that all that is part of your business plan. If not, you're going to struggle and fail. The other better option in my mind for an entrepreneur or a young person, owning their own practice, is to buy a practice. So that way, at the very least, you will have cash flow on day one. So that's the way I would do it if I had the choice, as opposed to starting something from scratch and not having enough money to pay my expenses for a while. The second point I would make is, once you are in position of that practice that's doing well, then I would start dropping PPO plans one at a time. The beautiful thing about what we are doing, reducing insurance dependence, is we are not saying fee for service. It's not like all or nothing. You can be on this journey, drop the worst offenders, the ones that pay you the least, ones that have the least amount of patients, but just not worth it, where you're losing money on those patients. And then drop the next one, and drop the next one. So I would recommend, once you are in a position where you own a practice, start dropping the PPO plans one by one by one. And some people end up with one PPO plans. Maybe they have a really good rate with this one plan and they get a lot of patients and they keep it, but they drop everything else. Some people go all the way, they drop everything. And this can take 1 to 2 years. And of course, if you have this in mind as a new entrepreneur, in addition to dropping the plans that you're already on, you could also beef up the relationship side, the 6 steps that Gary talks about. So you're attracting people who are also not on insurance. By the way, as you do this, you also want to be insurance friendly. So even if you're not on a PPO plan, file the claims for the patients, make their life easier, have the right verbal skills on how to talk to them. So they know that just because they come to your office, that you're still going to help them get every penny that they can from the insurance company by advocating for them with the insurance company.
Awesome stuff, Naren. Thank you so much, and let's be in touch. I'm looking forward to hearing about the next RITA Summit.
Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I hope our listeners got something from today's conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you. As always, I hope everyone finds this episode interesting and valuable. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the Deals for Dentists podcast on your favorite podcast platform and our weekly newsletter so you don't miss any of our upcoming shows.